The Virtual Boys have been playing Nintendo since they were little. They're pretty sure that these many years of experience make them experts with absolutely no bias. Join them this week for their pre-E3 speculations and their impressions on the ARMS Global Testpunch. You're listening to the Virtual Boys podcast by Nintendo City. This podcast is done by four friends that talk about anything and everything Nintendo. Check out our website at nintendocity.com and be sure to follow us on your social network of choice. Please be sure to subscribe and share us with your friends. Oh, and please enjoy our show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Virtual Boys podcast, a Nintendo podcast about Nintendo things. This is episode 54, and I'm your host, David. I'm getting bumped, bringing my cart around here. Accompanied today with James.
Nintendo 62, Nintendo 63, Nintendo 64. My puppet body is ready.
And joining us again this week, Cole.
I'm about making games, and I'm about playing games. From time to time, I kick some, well, you know what.
Welcome
Cabbages.
back, Cole. Cabbages. Well, welcome
Nailed
back,
it.
Cole. Glad to have you join us again this week. Thanks for standing in for Skylar and Jordan, who couldn't make it again.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no problem. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about E3 2017. But first, we're actually going to talk about the ARMS Testpunch and some of our remarks and how we felt about it since it happened this past weekend. After that, we'll move right into our E3 discussion, and we'll talk about software details we might expect, some possible surprise announcements, and then answer some questions about hardware announcements, like Nintendo's also Nintendo's paid online service and VR plus Nintendo. Before we start this episode, thanks again for joining us, and your support means a lot. We're going to shout out to our patron Chris for his continued dedicated support, and if you want to join him in supporting the podcast, head on over to patreon.com/Nintensity.
It really means a lot to us, Chris. Thank you so much.
All right, well, let's jump right on into our discussion. Let's talk about the ARMS Testpunch. That happened this past Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I only was able to get on for one session because I didn't wake up early enough for the other Saturday one, and we were out at dinner for the other Saturday one, and then I don't remember what I was doing on Sunday, but I had a lot of fun with it. It was really fun being able to try out a couple of the characters and see what it's like. What'd you guys think?
I was only able to get one session in too, and that was the Friday night one. I've been so hyped about this game, and to finally able to play it, it was kind of surreal. Not as much as, not the same feeling as when I got to play Breath of the Wild for the first time. Okay, that's like totally another level. But playing ARMS was pretty cool. For me, like at first it started out as just getting used to the controls, but once I got used to it, I found I enjoyed it a lot more, and it reminded me a lot of Wii boxing. I'm not gonna lie, way more integrated and complicated and thought-provoking, I guess you could say. It takes more skill, but it did remind me of it in a good way.
My experience was a little bit odd because I had forgotten that it was happening until right before, so my Wiimotes actually weren't charged.
Oh no.
So I did the first match with them wireless, and I plugged it in and started doing just on the Switch handheld itself, like just doing it that way.
Wow.
And so I actually played a little bit more without the motion controls, so I guess I got used to those a bit more. And when we were talking about last time I was on with the how people were saying that it's different and you can feel that you can't control it quite as much, like I noticed that. At the same time, I feel like if people are in a circumstance where maybe they don't have as much space, or they play it on the go more, I feel like the controls are still really well thought out even without the motion controls. So I really like that facet of it.
Yeah, I gave those a try, and I feel the same way. The controls definitely were well made, but I prefer the motion.
Yeah, sort of like James was saying, I really liked how it felt like Wii boxing, and I liked the feel of the game with motion controls. And I don't know, it felt new. It felt exciting to play. It was fun.
Yeah, and I walked into this, like, oh, okay, I guess I'll give it a try. Because, when we talked about this the last time, I wasn't super thrilled for ARMS. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't see the appeal. But once I started playing it, I'm like, okay, I can see why Nintendo made this game. I can see, all this stuff that people have been excited for. And it's totally changed my mind on how I view ARMS. And I definitely think that I'll end up getting it when it does come out.
It feels almost to me like one of the Nintendo engineers or developers was like, these things are more sensitive than the Wiimotes. Like we could probably do some really cool boxing game with this. And then one of the developers was like, oh, hey, I want to work on it. And they just got a prototype, and everyone had so much fun playing that they just kept developing it. And it feels sort of like that, because it's mostly just gameplay. There's not much else to it at this point.
I wonder if they were making they were taking Wii Boxing, but also taking Punch-Out and trying to make a new game out of it. But then they just ended up with a new IP. In the end, they're like, you know what? Let's just make this totally new. No Punch-Out references or anything. Let's just go with a new IP. Maybe that's how it started. I don't know, but whatever it is, it does feel fresh. And once you got used to the controls, however which way you're playing it, it did feel very good, which is fine. I mean, you can get used to controls as long as you feel good about them, and that's fine. You mentioned having the normal controls, without the motion controls. Would you say that maybe sometime in the future people will play that way, competitively, instead of using the motion controls, or is it too much of a difference?
I feel like if this was to become big competitively, people would be using the motion controls because the non-motion controls are meant to be used on one Joy-Con, or if on both, you don't use half of each one, right? So you have the single joystick, the set of 4 buttons, and the triggers, and I think you use the bumpers too, so you only have the one joystick to give any sort of direction to your punches.
Ah, okay.
And that's sort of like what David was talking about last time, where I think it was Verge editors who got to play early or something, and they were saying you had to control the punches with the same one you used to control your walking, and that's definitely true. Yeah. And so having motion controls gives you a little bit more, range of motion in the game, because you can input with the joystick or with the tilt of either Joy-Con.
Okay.
And so if it were to be competitive, I imagine that people would play it that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would also say that if competitive players did find a way to make the buttons and stuff give more consistent punches and figure out more consistent ways to always land combos and such, then perhaps that's where they would move in and use just the button controls.
I guess
as it stands right now, I mean, maybe they'll release some sort of patch where if you have both Joy-Cons, you can use the other stick to adjust your movement or whatever it ends up being. I also don't know how often motion controls are used in competitive fighting games. This is really the only one. Yeah. I know in Smash Bros, they've or Smash Bros. Wii, I guess, they got rid of the Wii motion, or the Wii motion, where if you flicked your Wii remote to the right, they would do a right smash, and if you flicked it up, they would do an up smash. I know that they banned that.
Whoa, was that a thing?
Yeah, you could set it to do that, but I think it was with the I can't remember exactly when you would use it, but I do remember doing it, and I remember reading that in the rules. So if they can find a way to make the buttons more consistent, I'd imagine that would be the standard for the game. But as it stands right now, there's just so much more that you can do with the motion controls that I think that's the way that we're going to go.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, and we were just talking last podcast about how this is such a unique thing for the gaming world, and how Nintendo seems to be showing that motion controls have a place in gaming, at least in their gaming world. So it's really cool to see the motion control actually working. Can I ask one more question about this?
Yeah, sure.
What was your favorite character that you played with?
Min Min.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Min Min.
Well, I heard a lot of people talking about Min Min. The two I heard the most was Min Min and Helix. Is that his name? The green blob guy.
Oh yeah.
I probably messed up his name, but I played a lot as him. I also played a little bit of Min Min, and I liked both of them. I first played as Ninjata because Ninjata was the one that stood out to me from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with him. I just like his design, but honestly, all three of those characters I enjoyed, and I'm still on. Obviously, because I only played one session, I'm still rather new to the game, so it was hard for me to feel a lot of the nuances. Although it's you can easily see Min Min's kick and Helix's gooey globness. But out of the characters, those are the three I played. However, there was not all the characters that were available, correct?
No, they were missing the three that were announced the other week.
Right.
Yeah.
They were missing Twintel, Bite and Bark, and I can't remember the last guy's name.
Kid Cobra?
Yeah, Kid Cobra.
Yeah.
Those are the three that were missing.
Which I would have played Kid Cobra in a heartbeat, right next to Ninjata.
Yeah. Well, they released the official stats for who was played the most and who won the most.
Wasn't it Min Min and Helix guy?
Ninjata was the most used fighter.
Oh, it was Ninjata and Min Min. Oh, that's right. That's
Min Min was
right.
the second, but Mechanica had the highest win rate.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know what that means. I mean, clearly this is meta defining. You know, you got to go Mechanica every time now. I don't know, but I really enjoyed playing. I took the time to swap characters often, and my two favorite were Ribbon Girl and Min Min. I like the double jump coming from...
David, you like to play as the girls, though.
The double jump was sweet.
Yeah, I do like to play as the girls, but I do like how they moved. They were fast and they were nimble. And
I did like Min Min a lot. I didn't get to play as Ribbon Girl.
I played as Master Mummy, and he was just too slow and clunky for me, and I didn't understand the appeal.
What I really did like about this was that, I don't know, I knew that I enjoyed the game. Afterwards, looking back, I realized, like, I only played that for like an hour, and I already have an opinion on which game type I like, and like I don't like it with 3 players, and 4 is a bit confusing. Like the 2-player mode is just right for me. Like when I wasn't focusing so much on the mechanics and all that, I just sort of got this intuitive, like, I like this one more than that one. I know that I've been playing this game and enjoying myself, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That is a good point.
I really enjoyed how they threw in the volleyball game into the mix. I really enjoyed that one. I got pretty good at that one, I think.
I struggle with that one. I wish I need more time practicing how to throw my punches right, and
it took me a while to realize that if you did an arm grab, like at the ball, it would set it up for a spike, and then you could hit it and spike it down. And there were a couple of other things, but unfortunately, James, this
that one is fast punches.
Yeah, fast punches did help, but if you were too fast, you couldn't respond while your arm was outstretched when they came in for a spike or something. So, I don't know, you had to figure out a good movement, good placement, and it was really interesting to see how it all worked.
I was definitely better at the fighting than volleyball.
Well, that's good news, because the volleyball is not returning this week for the test punch. It's being replaced with basketball.
Ah, sick.
Well, I wanted to try that chance to try more things.
So, and then they're also adding the Ramen Bowl stage this weekend. Oh, I wanted to talk about one of the stages, since that reminded me. Did you guys get to play on the one that was the stairs?
Yes, I hated that one.
That one was the worst. I hated being on the bottom. Because
I hated being on the freaking top.
I was on the bottom. Every time I was on the bottom, I felt like they would just grab me from the top, and I just couldn't recover.
Yeah, I hated the top.
Are we talking about like the Asian style stair?
Yes. Where it was like literally a slope.
I actually really liked that one.
Which that kind of shows me that, you know, some stages are going to be people's favorites and others are going to be people's bane of their existence. I hated being on the top. It's like Star Wars is like, I have the high ground now, and Anakin was like, well, obviously the high ground means nothing if I keep getting my butt kicked here. No.
That's what I was thinking too. But I was like, I want the high ground.
You wanted the high ground. I don't know. Yeah. So obviously it must have been when I was still understanding the controls and stuff like that. But I wanted to try it being on the bottom.
Now, here, guys, I think is perhaps the reason I liked that one so much. I kept getting put in the 3-person matches, and that one's just such a thin, long stage that if you stand off to the side, the person you're next to doesn't notice you, and they just beat each other up.
And then you just come in for the final attack. Full HP. Yeah. I think that those were fun, but they're definitely chaotic. I couldn't figure out how to switch who I was focused on.
It was, I think
that's
like
true.
The joystick? No. It was the buttons, the 4 buttons. on either Joy-Con. If you hit one of the ones on the right Joy-Con, it would switch to the right, and one of the ones on the left Joy-Con, it would switch to the left.
See, I just need more time. I need more time playing the game. And obviously there was a lot of sessions, but I just didn't have time.
Maybe that'll change my outlook on it when I can finally be like, oh, I can switch to the next person and beat them up instead of missing this one guy. So
there was one match. It's like, I can't change my focus. I know he's waiting for me to kill the other guy so he can kill me. Why can't I go to him? Ah, dang it.
Yeah.
Now I'm dead. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I'm excited for this game to come out, and it looks like a lot of people had great things to say about it. So
I think that the reaction was very positive. Also with Hoops, they're also adding Skill Shot, so you can try that one out as well.
I think this
weekend. So, and apparently the demo has been updated now, like literally like seconds ago, or a couple minutes, 45 minutes ago, whatever. They're distributing version 1.1, which includes all this new content so that you're ready for this weekend. So it'll be too late by the time this episode comes out. But for us, we can go download it now.
Yeah, I think the real telling thing about this whole discussion was like all of us had problems with the controls or with some part of getting in on this game, but we all still enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. But I think that my enjoyment of the controls will come as I practice more.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a while to figure out how to block, like consistently get my block to come up. But yeah, it's just they took a while to come up with, and after that, it was really fun.
Yeah, but the fact that didn't really take away from it, and none of us are like, it was ruined because of this. Like, despite the fact that we all had issues, we all enjoyed it, and I think that says something about the potential for this game once people are more used to it.
I feel like we at a point where it's human error instead of hardware error. You know what I'm saying? At least right now, maybe we'll get into it. It's like, okay, no matter what I do, this is not working. But for now, it just looks like I just don't understand what I'm doing.
I guess it's a good thing that we're getting the demo now, because it's the full controls with almost the entire roster. So when the game does come out, we'll understand how to play it, and we won't be doing this whole introductory thing once the game comes out. So
how to box.
That's some experience. Yeah.
How to arms.
How to arms. Well, do you guys have any other remarks on the test punch?
Nah. I like the whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, the theme song is super catchy.
Yeah, that's about all.
I posted in our Discord, I think, this guy that did some NES remixes, and he did one of the ARMS theme, and it's cool. It's like, it sounds like the game should have been built on the NES, because it grooves, and anyway, I know it wasn't, but, the song could have worked as an NES song,
NES too. Switch, like, they're only separated by, how long time?
Well, like 30 years?
Yeah. NES, just local only multiplayer. ARMS is supposed to be a competitive online battle game.
Sorry, it's actually 34 years. It came out in 83. Anyway. Alright, well, I guess that's our ARMS Test Punch remarks. When the game comes out, we'll have to do some sort of full review. Woo-hoo. But as for now, we're really enjoying it, and the Test Punch was a really, really successful experience for us. Well, let's move on to our E3 speculation discussion. We already know that Nintendo is foregoing the formal announcement, that we've gotten in the past, the big press conferences where they're on the stage talking, and, they haven't done that for a few years. But here's what they will cover at their multi-day event. I think it's spread over 3 days. The event will focus on Mario Odyssey, much like last year's focused on Zelda Breath of the Wild. They will include the now annual Nintendo Spotlight, which is an E3 video presentation, a return of the Nintendo Treehouse Live at E3, and tournaments for ARMS and Splatoon 2, both of which will be live streamed from the show floor. The company also promises to announce new details for Nintendo Switch games launching this year. And Reggie prepared a statement when this announcement came out saying, "Our various E3 activities will showcase the next steps for the Nintendo Switch, from a summer of social competitive gaming to a holiday season highlighted by a milestone Mario adventure. With Nintendo Treehouse live at E3, fans at home can watch in-depth gameplay of Nintendo Switch and Nintendo 3DS games launching this year."
That was a pretty good impression.
Oh, thank you. So we know that they'll have details for Switch games and 3DS games. What do you guys think that they'll actually talk about?
Got a little list here. And we've kind of separated this list into this will definitely be announced for the most part. I mean, it's Nintendo. This will most likely be announced. Second section is maybe will be announced. Third section is wishing like a child on Christmas. This will be announced. So obviously Mario Odyssey. It's a no-brainer. More info. It's going to be like Breath of the Wild. They'll have a big setup thing. I'm not sure if it's going to be as big. It may be big or bigger. Not sure. But I would think they would have more games than just Mario, right? What do you think?
I agree. They should definitely have more than just Mario Odyssey.
But will they?
They had a few extra games last year when they said we're just talking about Breath of the Wild.
Well, I'm not, and sorry, maybe I should clarify. I'm not talking about showing as in video presentation. I'm talking about demos and stuff like that.
Well,
like they only had Zelda there for demos.
Reggie's statement said that there was going to be a tournament, right? It was from their, not from his statement. The thing before that, it said there were going to be tournaments for ARMS and Splatoon 2, which means that both of those are going to be playable, right?
Well, doesn't ARMS come out like a couple of days before the E3 presentation anyway?
Yeah, but Splatoon 2 was supposed to come out after it, wasn't it?
Right. Splatoon 2 is later. So yeah, ARMS comes out June 16th. And the E3 presentation, I don't have the dates written down. It's on the 13th. Okay, so I guess it does come out right before ARMS. So, yeah, so
there's
cool.
2 pre-release, not just demos, but tournaments.
So
I don't know how that's going to work.
I guess, are people, Well, so what's going to happen is they're going to have Switches provided to play these games, because I don't imagine they're going to expect people to bring their Switches. Otherwise, they won't have a whole lot of people competing because not everyone has a Switch. Oh, that's where all the Switches went. They're hoarding them for themselves. No. So Cole, yeah, you do bring a good point. They will have that kind of presence. So they'll definitely have Mario Odyssey playable. They'll have ARMS and Splatoon 2 playable in a sense, whether that just be a demo or only for the tournament. Well, they definitely will have a tournament, but whether they have a demo is... we don't quite know yet.
Yeah.
But will there be any other games that haven't been announced yet that they'll be like, hey, try this out, like how they've done in the past? That's the big question. And I think that's what us as an audience, and especially people who go to E3, which it's going to be a madhouse this year because it is open to the public, that's what people want, is more demos. But knowing how well Breath of the Wild did, maybe it doesn't matter.
Well, we do know that they have about the same amount of square footage as last year.
True.
And they also set up a gajillion Breath of the Wild machines to play Breath of the Wild over the course. So if they have about the same amount of square footage, they're going to need to take away some percentage of that for ARMS and Splatoon 2, which means that they'll have less room for Mario Odyssey than they did for Breath of the Wild, which means that they probably only have demos for Mario Odyssey available, in my mind. But
that would make
could definitely have demos on the same machines that Mario Odyssey is on. Like, if they have 2 different classes, like, this one only has Mario Odyssey, like, these 20 or whatever number, only have Mario Odyssey, and then the other ones have, Mario Odyssey, ARMS, Splatoon 2, and maybe, I don't know, Fire Emblem Warriors Beta. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, I think I'm along the same lines as you, David, is that I think they'll only have Mario Odyssey and then maybe Splatoon 2 and ARMS separated. I'm not sure where they're going to have that tournament, if it's going to be in the space provided or in like the conference hall, because I think they have a conference hall taken where they'll show the presentation. Obviously it won't be live people talking, but I'm pretty sure they have one rented out. Double check that But anyway,
I mean,
I'm not sure. So I'm not sure whether having
kind of just going over the math in my head. Like, if they do any, like, I wouldn't expect them to do less of a presentation for Super Mario Odyssey than they did for Breath of the Wild. Like, Legend of Zelda and Mario are their two big, like, franchises for Nintendo, right? So if the tournament's in the same space, I don't imagine that it will be taking that space the entire duration of the whole event. Like, most of that time, I imagine that the space they're going to use for the tournament during, maybe 1 or 2 days will probably also be Super Mario Odyssey the remainder of the time, right? Like, they probably want to demo this as much as they possibly can.
Good point. I guess that goes down to, when is the tournament going to be exactly? Is it going to be the same day? Is it going to be on the 13th when?
The live tournaments will be on June 13th and 14th.
Okay.
And they will be live from the Nintendo E3 booth, which means, yes, they're going to be on the floor where Nintendo's got all of their stuff set up.
Because 13th is when they'll have their video presentation as well.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah, cool. It looks like along with Mario Odyssey, they're going to have Splatoon 2 and ARMS going on.
Yeah, and then the Nintendo Treehouse Live starts immediately after the video presentation called the Nintendo Spotlight.
What exactly are they showing off? Is it just going to be Mario, like they did with Zelda?
Yeah, I imagine that's probably what they're going to end up doing.
I know, I doubt it. I bet they're going to show. I bet at that Treehouse Live, they're going to show not only Mario but other games that have been announced. I think. Yeah,
I think
they could show off some third-party games.
Yeah.
They could do,
I think that event or that part of the event will be a lot like. Remember when they had the big Switch Treehouse event when they live streamed from
earlier this year
from New York City earlier this year? I imagine it'll be a lot like that, where they're mostly kind of sitting around playing the games, but they'll also cut to the floor and show people playing. But they'll switch out games and try a whole bunch of different things. So,
I think that's how.
And that's where we'll probably get some of the more random announcements, kind of like we did last year with the Breath of the Wild E3 presentation, where they just randomly slipped in a couple of games, and we're like, more RPGs for the 3DS this year? Okay, whatever.
It may be a little small. They may be smaller games. Anyway.
They are starting with a big presentation. Well, not presentation, but like a video this year. They didn't really last year. Last year, they just kind of started with Treehouse playing Pokemon, and then
they had a trailer.
Them playing Zelda. Oh yeah, they had the trailer for Zelda, but that wasn't like a whole hour or whatever they're playing this year. So I imagine there will be some more game announcements this year than there were last year.
Agreed.
For sure.
If they're playing a ton more, then it's obviously going to be big, right? Like. And they've already announced the Switch. It's already out. So the next biggest thing after their new console would be, I don't know, like we already know about Mario Odyssey.
So that's the thing. So what other big announcements are going to have? So we know Mario Odyssey is going to be there. I think a strong possibility that is looking likely is Smash Brothers for the Switch. I was thinking that way, because they haven't said anything about it yet. Right.
We're just starting to get some leaks that it might be in the later stages of development. Mm-hmm. Well, the timing just sort of lines up for them to say, oh yeah, by the way, we have this.
And that would be huge for Switch. I mean, Smash 4, in my opinion, is the best Smash to date, and yet it was on the Wii U, which... in hindsight,
was not Nintendo's best-selling console.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. We've talked about in the past that with Smash Bros. For Wii U, they have the engine built now, on modern consoles.
Architectures.
Modern architectures and the modern console. And so it wouldn't be that hard to port it over to the Switch, especially considering how quickly and I imagine how easily they were able to port Mario Kart 8 onto the Switch.
Right.
So I think that a new Smash Bros. Game won't be a whole brand new installment like everybody's hoping. It will be the difference between Smash Bros. Brawl and Smash Bros. For Wii U.
Yeah,
I think it'll be more along the line of an upgraded port where it will have all the DLC included, but they'll also include plans for what's coming in the future.
And if they're following the pattern of Mario Kart 8 to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, they might just call it Super Smash Bros. For the Switch.
Yeah.
I would be kind of disappointed with that, though.
Me too.
Because I like the cool names.
Me too.
I still think that the next one should be called Super Smash Bros. Frenzy, but that's just me.
No.
Super Switch Bros.
Super Switch Bros. Oh my gosh.
Or just change it altogether to Fire Emblem Brothers.
Yeah, eventually. David, you mentioned people who want a new game. I that's what I want. I mean, I know it's so hard, and these games are so well made, and they take years to develop. I don't know. I would love a new game, but thinking realistically and just kind of putting things in perspective, yeah, it makes more sense for them to port the game while adding DLC and maybe tweaking a few things. However,
I'm kind of gonna speak in and say, alternatively, since most consoles recently have been moving to more standard architectures as far as CPU and memory goes. Like, I'm not a hardware engineer. I don't reverse engineer this for fun. I know there's people who do that. But I know that the Wii U, the Switch have all been on more standard, like, PC sort of, like, assembly instruction architectures. So porting the Wii U version to the Switch would have been relatively easy, which means if they just brought that core engine along, they could have had more development time for doing cool new stuff because the base core engine would already have been mostly developed.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, we haven't heard from the Smash developers in almost a year, maybe more. I can't remember when the last patch came out for Smash Bros. For Wii U.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they could be adding new stuff. I mean, they changed some things in Mario Kart 8. They gave us better battle mode and all this other stuff. I mean, sure, we'd probably see more drastic changes for Smash Bros. For Switch, if that's what they end up calling it. Yeah, I don't know. I think that that's absolutely possible.
However, but yeah, it is absolutely possible. Sorry, not trying to put a clause in that. I just want to freaking bring up the leaks, because we mentioned the leaks, and they kind of bug me. Because again, we talked about leaks and how, are they morally or ethically or whatever the word is correct. Yeah, we talked about that. But what I'm upset about is that they had 3D models, like 3DS models, in some of the screenshots that were supposedly this Smash for Switch. And it's like, why would that be the Switch version of Smash? Okay, yeah, you have the portable version, but the Wii U was able to have it was able to play the game on its screen, and it didn't have to go down to those 3DS models. So why would that? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. And these don't look like screenshots that they took in handheld mode either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my issue with these leaks, I mean, is that the graphic design is so good on the stages that they've done. Like, they are high quality textures. I mean, sure, the guy probably has been working on these for so long, but there are details in the Paper Mario stage that has been apparently up-resed or whatever that aren't in the 3DS version of the stages.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes, but
yeah,
you could, someone could like edit that, right?
They
so
could.
What one of my friends was saying is that, like David was saying, the details seem to be in the model. And so what we're seeing with these leaks is that if it's a fake leak, it's sort of gone out of the boundary where being good with Photoshop alone is going to get somebody. If these are a fake leak, my guess would be it would have had to involve some sort of 3D software. Maybe they ripped models from the 3DS. Maybe they.
But why the 3DS
they took those
models?
And enhanced them. But that would be a good point. But also at the same time, maybe if they were working on it for the Switch and this was like an earlier development thing, maybe they would have taken the simpler models first and then run with that while they nailed down some of the effects, tried to get it running better. I don't know. I know when you see early development, legitimate things released from legitimate companies, they're usually running with worse quality models and not as much effects just because the engine isn't always up to speed yet, or because they just want it to be running at top frame rate all the time.
I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I guess it's just, yeah. I hope that it's improved upon and we're not dealing with these 3DS models, because
I doubt it would be.
I mean, to me, it'd be fairly disappointing, because if I can get the same experience of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on pretty close to the same experience from my TV to just the tablet mode. It shouldn't be that big of a difference. But like you said, it probably would be improvement. I'm just still skeptical that these images are real. While the models may look amazingly detailed in HD, it just, to me, having that 3D models and the biggest thing, like, who plays as Bowser Jr.? I mean, I'm just kidding. David plays as Bowser Jr.
I did.
Guys have to play as everyone, I guess.
No, I'm just...
James, don't you remember that 6-month period where I would really only play as Iggy?
Yeah. No, totally. No, I have no qualms against the game coming to the Switch. I have nothing wrong necessarily with knowing that beforehand because it was kind of obvious. What I have an issue with is if this is real, I'm severely disappointed in those models. And I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, it's kind of odd that someone who doesn't work for Nintendo would be getting these screenshots with the 3DS model.
Like you're saying, if this is a real screenshot, my guess would be that it's earlier in development, and that maybe that's the only thing that the person who's leaking it could have access to.
However,
but
why
like
would it
you're
be
saying,
so early
something doesn't quite add up.
Yeah, that's I guess that's what I'm trying to say. We'll find out. I mean, if it's announced at E3, will we really be able to know if these images were real or not? Will that prove?
I don't think we'll ever know if they were. I don't think we'll ever know if they're actually real or not, unless at
the
E3
guy
come out and they show these exact same stages or something, and they look identical or whatever.
Here's one way we'll know. If they have the 3DS models, then we're like, okay, he's right. These leaks were real, and I will be furious. I will go on strike. Not my Switch, not my Smash Bros.
So how about that? I'm going to go way out into the conspiracy theory realm here.
Okay,
what
here we
if
go.
Nintendo, knowing that E3 was coming up, because they're always planning for this sort of thing, wanted people to be talking about Super Smash Bros. For the Switch, and so they prepared this.
They're behind the leaks,
but they wanted people to talk about it. They wanted people to debate it, so they intentionally put in lower quality models so that people would have reason to say this can't be real. So that the discussion would go on longer and would be a bit more intense, so that people would get more hyped about the game. So that as they're saying nothing on official channels, when E3 comes around, they can say, "Bam! Look, we have it ready." And everyone will be hyped.
I do want to say, though, that if these are real and we are getting an announcement for Smash Bros., I don't think that the game will release until after holiday.
Yeah,
and it'll be sometime in 2018, just because there are already a lot of fairly competitive fighting games on the Switch right now, and especially because ARMS comes out right after E3. I don't think Nintendo wants to detract from the potential hype that they have for ARMS by saying, "Oh, just wait, Smash Bros. Is coming in a couple months."
Yeah, especially because Smash Bros. Is another one of their main flagship titles, and ARMS is the new kid on the block here.
Exactly.
They need ARMS to succeed, so even if Smash Bros. Is official and they're we have this and everyone's hyped about it, they're going to push it back because they want ARMS to sell well.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I like to point out that ARMS is coming out in June, whereas a December title would be in December. So it is fairly spread out, but I do understand. I do see that people would want to maybe put off buying a fighting game. However, I think the one that they'd be most worried about is Super Mario Odyssey, which may be coming out in November. Not so much that Smash would take away from Mario Odyssey, it may, but more that Mario Odyssey would take away from Smash Bros. Sales.
I agree with you on this, because I think that most gamers would choose to only get one, but because I think a lot of parents would choose to only get one.
Right. I think Nintendo's just if we're going to have a Christmas game, especially around Black Friday time, it's going to be Mario. That's how Mario Galaxy, first one or second one was. Maybe the first one was. I remember I got it for Christmas, but that's because it came out around Black Friday time. I know that sold really well. So anyway, I think they'll focus more on Super Mario Odyssey, and so that's why I see what David's saying is about them pushing it past December into 2018.
And if they just like at E3 said early 2018 and that's all they said for now, then a lot of people would start planning to get the things that they actually have harder release dates on already.
Yeah.
Especially because then it's like, okay, I know this is coming out now. That's just in time for so-and-so's birthday, or that's just in time for Christmas, And people will start planning on those things. And then when the hard release date comes out for Super Smash Bros. Later, they're like, oh, but it's Super Smash Bros. I can't not get Super Smash Bros. And then that just sort of gets added onto their plans after it's already been set in stone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I really think they should do the early 2018 release date. So let's just go ahead and move on to other games that we think will be talked about. Well, I'll just list them. We don't have to talk about them in detail. Next thing is another Splatoon trailer that's definitely going to be showed off. I don't think.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
they're doing
absolutely.
a tournament.
Yeah, they have to have some
not
sort of
show
trailer.
another trailer.
Right. I'm not so sure about ARMS, if they'll do anything for ARMS.
Well, they've already revealed all 10 characters, so I doubt that they'll show
It's coming
another
out
trailer.
like 2 days after the thing, so.
Yeah.
I don't think they have to.
Right, they don't need to. Fire Emblem Warriors, they have to show that off because it's coming around the fall time.
Yeah, and this week we got some more information about it. We got 2 new characters that are coming, and they're starting to give us like little tidbits of information. So I imagine they'll show us something more about it.
Yeah. Mario and Rabbids, I mean, it's more or less confirmed, and I'm pretty sure they wanted this to be a big surprise, but they'll show it off either way.
You wanted a good Paper Mario game? Well, we don't want 2 RPGs, so we're gonna take away all the good parts of Paper Mario, and then, here, have another RPG game about Mario.
Plus Rabbids, because that makes everything better.
Well, they were the minions before the minions.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with this game. Anyway, some 3DS games that could be announced, that I think will be announced. It's the Kirby 3DS game that is supposed to be coming out in the wintertime. That should be good. And then, hey, Pikmin, maybe they'll show that game. I'm not sure how much they've considered showing it, but I imagine because it's the next Pikmin game, supposedly they'll.
Yeah, I mean the game releases in July. I think July 28th. Yeah, July 28th. I just looked it up. So they'll probably show something just to be like, hey, look, we got some more about it. But
yeah.
I don't know.
All the ones that are coming out pretty soon, they got to show something.
Yeah, unless they've showed a lot.
Yeah, I don't know.
They have
shown it a few times.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm kind of like I'm not so sure about this one, but it would seem more of an obvious one to show. Okay, so maybe we'll announce these are games that are kind of like they've kind of been in the talking. Fire Emblem for Switch, which is coming out 2018. We know that's been confirmed.
Please.
But it would be wonderful if they showed that off at E3 and gave us a little snack to hold us until next year.
Give it
just I don't know, some images or something.
Even a
awesome.
trailer. A trailer would be great.
So now is Fire Emblem Switch the actual official title for it?
No.
So they might give it a title.
A title would be nice.
They could give us a title. I mean, we got a little bit of information earlier this week about it. Simply the Switch will be able to give Fire Emblem something completely different and will breathe life into the characters like never before. That's really all that they said in some interview with some site.
Yeah, I remember hearing that, but I just had a thought. You remember the Senran Kagura thing where the guy was like, he saw the creator of the series saw the Joy-Con and the HD Rumble, and he was like, wow, I wonder how I could put. I'm intrigued about this HD Rumble thing, and then in the presentation, he showed like his scientists touching, like groping water balloons and playing with pudding and stuff like that. It's like, oh no. Is that what they're talking about for Fire Emblem?
I hope they don't add that to Fire Emblem.
No!
Please, no.
No, they won't.
The other thing is that they've kind of said that there's going to be virtual reality in the Switch future, maybe.
Yeah, I
think the entire showing it from a different perspective, breathing new life into the characters, that might be what they're hinting at.
Maybe. I don't know. Wow. We can discuss VR a little bit later. We actually have a question about that.
So I actually would love to have a discussion maybe after E3 where we talk about what that could mean about Fire Emblem's future. What sort of things could really change up the franchise. Anyway, moving on. Skyrim. I imagine at least Bethesda will mention it. Like, someone's got to talk about this game that's supposed to come out in fall. I mean, it's supposed to come out. So if Nintendo doesn't do it, then Bethesda will.
We're partway into the summer. Fall comes after summer, guys.
Yeah, we haven't seen or heard anything. Like, barely even been a trailer. So
I think maybe the reason we haven't heard much about Skyrim for the Switch is because Skyrim's already come out on literally everything else.
That's true. Well, also didn't want to deter too much from Zelda, maybe? I don't know. That's a stretch.
But yeah, I think they'll give us a release date, at least. Bethesda will mention it.
That'd be nice. Virtual console.
Please.
That's a maybe, but I think they just need to get it out. Let's go. It's ready. Online functionality. Let's learn.
I'm really hoping details come out for this because they said it was going to be free for a while, and then there was going to be some sort of paid plan. And
it's definitely
we haven't seen too many details about it.
Right, it's definitely a paid plan. I just hope, and I guess we have a question about this, but I hope that it'll be worth our money. And I put this on. I guess this could be a wish, but I feel like Nintendo finds these games pretty safe. A new Donkey Kong game. I mean, the Wii had the game, and Donkey Kong Country, and then Tropical Freeze for Wii U. I could see them totally doing a Switch Donkey Kong game. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they announced it. Although it'd be a very nice addition to the Switch's library. Okay, so this is the section: wishing like a child on Christmas. Probably will never happen. Metroid Prime,
please,
4,
please.
I feel like every Nintendo news site, every Nintendo podcast, every Nintendo YouTube channel, they talk about Metroid. They want it.
Everyone agrees.
Everyone agrees. 9 out of 10 dentists agree that one dentist he's never played Metroid before. Pokemon Stars, that's been a rumor. I don't think it's gonna happen at E3, but that would be wow if they did, and that would just already sell the Switch to people who can find one. And then Mother 3, excuse me.
Hype. Please, I know they've been teasing it for so long.
So now speaking as someone who has not played the Mother series,
that needs to change.
It does need to change, but just saying, like, from a business perspective, they've been teasing this for a while. Like, everyone really wants to see a continuation of this series. And if they released it for the Switch, that's kind of what they just did for The Legend of Zelda, right? Like, it's been a longer time.
Yeah.
But they dropped Breath of the Wild, and that propelled the Switch to be super selling well, right? And so if they came out with Mother 3, I feel like that would do the same thing for sort of the later buyers. And then people who were like, I don't know about it, but oh wait, Mother, I loved that series. They might pick it up to get the third Mother game.
Right, and Mother 3 was a Game Boy Advance game that released in Japan only, and fans have been wanting it for years, so please, Nintendo, hear our plea. Just give it to us. Maybe an updated version, but just give it to us.
It just makes business sense. Come on.
Right. So if there are any other games that you think will be announced, may be announced, or in your wildest dreams will be announced at E3 this year, let us know. Comment, send us an email, or tweet at us or anything, and we'll let you know if you're crazy or if we totally agree with you. You may be crazy.
And if it's crazy enough, we might just talk about it on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Hey everybody, it's David, just hopping in the middle of the episode here just to break things up a little bit. I just wanted to hop in to remind you to check out our website at nintensity.com, where you can find news, articles, and opinions about pretty much everything Nintendo. We've been trying really hard lately to keep on top of the big news that's happening. We're not the best at it, but we're definitely improving, and we would appreciate if you just check us out and, leave some comments on some of our articles and let us know how we're doing there. Don't forget to check out this show's episode notes. You can find that at nintend.city/EP54. In fact, you can find any of our podcast episodes just by replacing that 54 with any of the numbers that we've already done. It'll automatically direct you to our show notes where you can find links to our episodes. We're working really hard on our E3 coverage that we're going to be doing. Unfortunately, none of us are going to be at E3 this year, but we are going to have a live blog as well as some recap posts at the end of the day after each of the various events that happen with Nintendo. So please be sure to keep an eye out for those pages. We'll be posting them really soon. I also just want to direct your attention to our Patreon page. I know I've been pushing this a lot lately, but supporting us on Patreon really helps us keep the podcast going and make sure that we have the funding to pay for our servers. And we love doing the show, don't get us wrong, and we're not trying to beg for money, but any support would go a long way. We mentioned Chris at the beginning of every our episodes, and everyone that supports will definitely be recognized in each of our podcast episodes as well as the show notes. And there are some various rewards that you can get. If you just head on over, you can see that $1 a month will get you some of our behind the scenes stuff, and $5 a month will get you your own private RSS feed for these episodes that have been going out a couple of days early. Again, I can't promise exactly when that will be, but if you want to go check out those rewards, you can go do that. Just a reminder that our Patreon is not an obligation. We're still going to push out all this content for free. It's just if you could spare a few dollars a month, that would really help a lot. And you can cancel at any time. Don't worry about if you can't afford it for 1 month or whatever. Go ahead and cancel. We totally understand. You're donating to us, and it's very generous, and we don't want to, put a hamper on how you think about us. It's just, the more support that we can get, the more we can do with our show. Anyway, I want to remind you to check out our Facebook and Twitter page. Each of those handles is Nintensity, just facebook.com/Nintensity, and our Twitter handle is @Nintensity, so please be sure to check that out. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to say today. Thanks so much for your support. We really do appreciate it, and we hope that you enjoy the last little bit of this E3 discussion. Thanks so much. Speaking of talking about things that the listeners send us on the podcast, how about we go to some listener questions?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So before recording, I reached out to our community again and got a couple of questions for us to answer about E3. And if you listening want us to answer your questions or discuss a topic that you're curious about, just send us an email at podcast@nintensity.com. All right, this first question comes from Daniel Malupo. He asks, in terms of features and such, what would you say would be the bare minimum for Nintendo's paid online service? What do you hope for from the service? Also, what would cause you to just say, nope, not worth it?
Can I interject for a second?
Sure.
I think before we talk about the bare minimum for what we expect to see, I think we should maybe review what they've promised so far, and then maybe talk about, is that enough, and are there other things that we just sort of expect there to be? So
okay,
I think so far they mentioned some sort of matchmaking, appointment making sort of friends service, right? That sort of implies chat, because they said it was going to be you could, while you're not on your Switch, use your mobile device to set up playtimes. So that sort of implies some sort of chat. I don't remember what else they said there was going to be, but... So
their official website for their online services says that, planned for fall 2017, our new dedicated smart device app will connect to Nintendo Switch and let you invite friends to play online, set play appointments, and chat with friends during online matches in compatible games, all from your smart device. And a free limited version of the app will be available to download in summer 2017. So yes, voice chat and an online lobby will be available. So another feature that... go ahead.
To me that sounds like they'll announce that at E3, that app.
Right.
It's about the right time for it.
Yeah, here, the app's ready. Go download it. It'll be available. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if the free version, limited version of the app would be available right when ARMS launches.
Yeah.
That would actually make a whole lot of sense.
Either at E3 or when ARMS launches.
Yeah, so people can download it and give it a shot and try it out with ARMS, and then Splatoon that comes out the next month.
Right.
Because then fall rolls around, and that will be limited to people that pay the monthly fee.
Right.
So yeah, that would come. Another feature feature is a monthly game download. Subscribers will get to download and play an NES or SNES game with newly added online play for free for a month. So that makes me think, James, we were talking about Virtual Console earlier, that yes, we're going to get some sort of Virtual Console announcement at E3.
Okay.
Because this says it's planned for fall 2017, so they better be giving us details about this.
But wait, they're saying with added online play. That
I don't know
sort
what that
of
means.
implies that it's not on Virtual Console. That it's like they've updated it to be like a Switch version of an NES Classic.
I mean, it doesn't say that it's completely revamped, but it is newly added, so I don't know. That's a good point.
Not sure. I still think they're implying Virtual Console.
I hope they're implying Virtual Console.
Well, it could be like the changes that they made to Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on the 3DS, where they added the trade functionality. It could just be like some sort of emulation hook that they figured out how to put in so that you can do something online. It might just be like leaderboards or something for Super Mario Bros.
That would be pretty simple.
Yeah, and then it also comes with exclusive deals for special offers for subscribers that may include discounts on select digital downloads and content. So that's what we know we're getting, but we just don't have any details really.
Yeah.
So
and in a investors meeting, it was an interview with the Nikkei. Someone from Nintendo, I think it may have been Kimishima, said that the price range for the online service would be like $17 to like $25, $26 a year, which is
that's
very
really good.
That's reasonable.
Right. And obviously it does depend on how well the service is. If we're getting Xbox One, PlayStation 4, these, how well their services are, I mean, or better. I mean, we can, better is always nice, but if we can get something like that for this price, I mean, that just blows the competition out of the water.
Right.
So
that totally makes me say totally worth it.
Getting around to this dear listener's question again, though, that makes me want to say the bare minimum for me would be that the voice chat has to be better than what I can get for free on my phone already.
Yeah.
Or there has to, because I can do voice chat and I can schedule times to play with my friends over Discord.
Yeah.
And that's free.
Right, that is free. Yeah, I'm not, I'm surprised that Nintendo's going with this smart app approach or smartphone app approach. I honestly have no idea how it's going to work exactly. Why would you prefer connecting to the system or prefer connect to your phone rather than the system? I mean, I guess the phone makes sense because most everyone has a phone.
I think it's kind of cool. You could get on your phone app and you're in class or you're at work or whatever, and it's like, oh, so and so's playing this.
I guess that is
maybe like they send you an invite and it pops up with a notification like, oh, do you want to play with so and so at like 6:00 tonight? And it's just like a mobile notification that's native to your system, and you don't have to have the Switch with you to get it.
Maybe they just were like, hey, look at this Discord app, and maybe they felt like it was a good framework for an app for online play, and maybe they based it off of that, seeing what friends are playing, who's online. Maybe
Discord is hugely successful, so I mean that's totally within the realm of possibility. I totally can believe that.
What would also be really sweet is if this app made it sort of like an easy way to get like the screenshots off of the Switch. Because right now you can like transfer them to the SD card and copy it off. Maybe it's like if your Switch is on and connected to the internet, then you can like browse your pictures and you select one, add some text, share it to Nintendo's little social site that they're running for this or whatever.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of
really cool.
That'd be really cool. So as far as like the bare minimum of what Nintendo's paid online service should be, I mean, it needs to be better than Wii U's online. So the bare minimum is slightly below PlayStation 4 or Xbox One for me, because at the price you're going for, I can see that being acceptable. As long as there's not frequent drops in play sessions, I think that's fine. As long as it runs smoothly, the voice chat app works fine. Lobbies and UIs are user friendly and not stuck in the Stone Age. I think that's Nintendo's kind of been having a issue with getting on with online UIs and online interfaces. They don't quite have a grasp. Even with Mario Kart 8, However, I think that they can start moving in that direction with this app and with the addition of this paid online service. But the bare minimum has to be just below PlayStation 4, Xbox One quality. Ideally, it would be better than both of those. But I don't think that's going to happen.
You actually bring up something that I wanted to mention during our E3 discussion, is that I feel like a lot of what Nintendo's doing, we might look at in a new light depending on what Sony and Microsoft announce. Because it's right around the sort of time, in the technology cycle for them to be, saying things about the next console.
True. Well, they'll talk about Scorpio, and I think we have a question similar to Scorpio, but Microsoft will announce that system. PlayStation 4, I don't know what they're going to do. They'll probably announce their version of the Switch. Either this year, this year or next year. It's happening.
I think that's called a PSP.
Well, it won't have a CD-ROM anymore, and you can switch between the TV and the handheld. Anyway, I think it will be interesting what Microsoft and PlayStation and Sony bring to the table this E3. Is there anything that would cause you just to say nope? No.
For the price that we've got, plus a game and what they're telling us we're getting, I think I will probably end up getting it either way.
Okay.
Like, I don't see any reason for me to not get it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, especially if ARMS turns out to be really good, like that's going to be sort of a must-have for ARMS and Super Smash Bros.
And Splatoon!
And Splatoon, yes. and it's at a very reasonable price range for having this online play. I hope it's better than we've seen in the past. But honestly, if it's as good as the Wii U version, I'd probably still pay it.
Yeah, I mean, I did say bare minimum is just below PS4, but in reality, if it's like the Wii U, I won't be too upset because I haven't had like terrible time getting online and stuff like that. But I do think that is kind of the standard they need to shoot for at the minimum, just like I said.
Yeah.
I would like to see it improve as more people are subscribing to this and they're actually getting some money from it.
Right. That would be wonderful. If it's like the Wii's online capabilities, I mean, that's ancient. Guys, that's going to be not worth it. Even for $17 a year. Well, yeah, I mean, come on. If you can't even play, if you're playing Smash and it lags every time you jab or attack or anything.
I think the worst thing about the Wii and the Wii U was that for some reason, like just randomly, if your Wi-Fi was set up in a certain way, it was just incompatible and there was nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, I can't connect my Wii to my modern router at all, and this type of specification has been around since the Wii's time. It's obnoxious.
It's like some variant of WPA security.
Yeah,
that
WPA2 doesn't work. It's like,
no,
really?
I think it was like only one encryption scheme in WPA2.
Yeah,
but it's
it was
the more
dumb.
common one that it doesn't work with. And
Right. So I have to connect to the Xfinity router or whatever. I mean, I don't use the Wii's online functionality at all anymore, but that's just how I've had to circumvent it. So,
question then, since you have a wireless network that we know the Wii was having trouble with, does your Switch have problems with that?
no, absolutely not.
So
I haven't had a single disconnect. So
I hope that's just the end of it then. I hope that we never have that problem again.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks for your question, Daniel. Appreciate it.
I hope we answered it.
Yeah,
and
I hope
if you listening have any other answers or opinions, be sure to let us know. All right, let's move on to the next question. This one comes from Todd Hansman. He asks, obviously there will be game announcements at E3, but what hardware-related announcements, besides the new 2DS, do you think will be shown and discussed there? So I was thinking that most likely we'll get some kind of accessories and maybe the North American announcement of the new Joy-Con colors, since they haven't officially told us that we're getting the Splatoon colors. That are elsewhere, and maybe a special edition Switch for Mario. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Okay, so here's a far-fetched idea I had. What if, in order to bring Super Mario Maker to the Switch, they announced an accessory that is a second screen for the Switch? That is touchscreen that can work while the Switch is in docked mode. And then when you play it in handheld, you just take this, you could just play it on the Switch itself. However, I'm not sure how that would work, having 3 screens, I guess, technically. You're only using 2, but...
Also, this touch screen would have to be wireless, right? Because you're not going to run a cable from the dock.
Right, it would be wireless, much like the Wii U is wireless to the system as well, the Wii U gamepad. So, I don't know.
But
trying to think of ways
screen
for
also has joysticks and stuff. It's basically a second Switch.
It would be different thing. Like you do bring a good point.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, some sort of ways so that Mario Maker could work. Again, I guess I'm talking about software, but I'm not saying that it'll be announced this E3. But as far as accessories in the future, I guess that was just one far-fetched idea I had, because Mario Maker was such a gold seller for the Wii U that it'd be a shame if they were never able to bring back that franchise again.
You bring up a really good point.
I just want to mention real quick that I do think that Mario Maker could work with the motion controls on Joy-Con.
I guess we did talk about that earlier, or in a previous episode.
I think it could still work there, but a second touchscreen would be cool. Anyway, Cole, go ahead with your thought.
I was just going to say, if they bring Mario Maker with the Switch as is with existing hardware, they could do motion control pointing. They could, just use the tilt control. You don't even have to use motion to do that. Or they could just say, you can only build stuff in handheld mode. That would be slightly less satisfying, but it's still a viable option.
It is a viable option, just, less satisfying. I don't know. I feel like the Wii U was made for Mario Maker in a sense. It just works so well. And it's a shame that unless you get that other screen where you can have a second screen while looking at the TV, unless you have that, you can't have the full Mario or the greatest Mario Maker experience, in my opinion. However, I do agree with you that motion control could possibly work, or you just have it in handheld mode, then you dock it in order to do on the TV. Although I don't think the motion controls will be nearly as precise as doing it on the touchscreen.
Yeah, maybe you're onto something, and they might do some sort of a thing where if you have 2 Switches that both have Mario Maker, then you can, I don't know,
yeah, that'd be cool.
Edit one and play it on the other. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if you can get a second Switch, there's someone out there crying without one. And
I doubt that it would be required for it. I just think, if you have a friend with a Switch, then they have this special mode that is like Wii U mode Mario Maker or something.
That would be ridiculous if it was required to have 2. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the accessory would be I don't know, just something not too expensive. I don't know. Again, far-fetched idea. Okay, sorry. Let's go back to something that will probably most definitely be announced, which is, like David said, Joy-Con colors. I don't know. They haven't been too ecstatic about bundles here in America for some odd reason. I think we could see some random hardware come out for ARMS or Splatoon, like Joy-Con colors, or some weird accessories they had, like with the Wii remote. Do you guys remember those a golf attachment, or like the Wii Zapper or something like that?
Yeah.
I think Nintendo maybe passed all those accessory things, but I could see them maybe saying, "Hey, you can you can attach a glove to your Joy-Con as you play." And that way you won't smash your TV. If you know where the strat. To be fair, I'm at a loss at what they could do accessory-wise besides change the colors of the Joy-Con.
The console came out a couple months ago, so I really doubt that they'll be coming out with too many new hardware-related items. I mean, I imagine this is in the future, but 3-4 years' time, they'll announce an upgraded Switch model. I can definitely see that coming.
I've heard some people saying 2. I mean, I find that rather early, but I guess that could be possible.
But it'll come eventually.
I mean, it's got to be somewhere in between, right? 3-4 years if you're looking at console tradition, 1 or 2 years if you're looking at mobile device tradition. I'd kind of like to see some more like official Nintendo cases. Most of the ones I've seen right now are just like the pocket on one side and then all the little pockets for your cartridges on the other.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some that are kind of like the 3DS cases where you open it up and you don't have to pull it out of this pocket to play it. Like it's got a hole for the screen on the one side and stuff like that.
No, that would be nice.
Just some customizability in the cases they're offering for it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see what hardware comes out. But speaking of hardware, the next question comes from our patron Chris Anderson. He asks.
Oh wait,
with
sorry.
Sorry.
I had another.
Okay,
epiphany.
go.
Go. What if? This is another far-fetched, but what if they had a Super Nintendo Entertainment System retro reboot style thing? What if they had a classic for the SNES? That had been rumored. What if they announce it? Like that?
They could.
They could. I mean, they didn't. I don't think they announced the classic NES, but with how well that sold and their lack of cooperation with breaking out enough copies of it, maybe they'll be like, hey, here it is, and we promise that we'll have enough for everyone, and everyone goes ballistic, and world hunger's ended. Waluigi comes out and says, I am your new king, and it'll be glorious.
Kind of just what you said just made me think, like, it would be really cool if they started doing custom Switch docks, too.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Because you just said SNES, and I'm like, I've seen people modding their N64s to take that case and put a Switch dock in it. Like, what if they started making official ones where it's like, oh, you just drop your Switch in the SNES thing?
That'd be pretty boss.
That would be pretty sweet.
In Japan, when they announced the Monster Hunter, the Nintendo Switch version, they announced a bundle as well, and on the bundle they have these like decal imprints on the Switch dock. Mind you, it's just like how the Switch logo is just like a different color, different shade of black, like it's a different material. It's just like it's just like
embossed.
Yeah. So just this kind of images and swirly things on it. But if they were to have it go a step further and have like different colors or cooler things,
colors would be sweet.
That'd be awesome. Because right now it just
shapes
kind of looks
or something.
bland. And we only have the Joy-Con that is colorful. I don't know. Can I have a little more?
And
color?
most of the people I know got the gray Joy-Con just because they didn't know about the colors to start out with. They're like, I don't know about these red blue things.
Well, it's true. I mean, they are really like they really pop. Like you're not being very subtle when you play with when you're outside with those. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, David. Please,
no, that's okay.
Continue.
I think that your addition to what hardware they could announce was very, very good.
Yes,
I'm not mad. It was a brilliant epiphany, just like you introduced it. So, anyway, continuing with the hardware idea, Chris asked, with Microsoft developing more VR-friendly tech with Scorpio, I wonder if you see any opportunities for Nintendo to expand in that field, or whether you've heard about any plans to do so. So, we actually have heard about some of Nintendo's plans, or at least ideas about VR on the Switch. Nintendo President Tatsumi Kimishima, you probably are going to murder me for that pronunciation, James, unless I did it okay. Anyway, he's explained that the company will add VR to support if they can resolve one issue. He said, if we are able to resolve the issues of playing VR comfortably for long hours, we will support it in one form or another. There you have it, Chris. Nintendo is thinking about it. I do want to add that the Switch itself might not be the best idea for a VR console, at least in its current state. It might need to be an upgraded one, because with the amount of pixels that the screen produces, it means that we're getting like maybe less than 500 pixels per eye, because they would divide the screen down the middle or something. And so it's not as much as an actual headset could give you, but Nintendo is thinking about it, so maybe we'll get it in an upgraded version of the Switch.
So I did an article about this last year. I think I was writing for a PC magazine or PC gaming website called opnoobs.com. If you haven't checked it out, if you like PC gaming, good place. But I wrote an article about how VR could be the future of gaming, but is it? And I quoted Reggie on something he mentioned about VR, saying that Nintendo while they may be looking into it, they're always looking into the next future, the next possibility for gaming. And at this moment, that's not where they're heading. That's not where they're focusing their talents and their resources to. At least when that was a year ago, before they announced the Switch, they believed the future of gaming was somewhere else. And I guess to them, it was in handheld, portable, but also home console gaming. Nintendo will always do what they deem is appropriate and not what is popular per se. You know, they will look and do research into what they believe is good for the gaming community. If they find that VR is the future, that this will be great and this will not cause people pain or sickness, then yeah, let's go with it. But at this point, I really don't think that they're going quite in the direction yet. The HD Rumble with the Joy-Con is definitely a step in the right direction. That's probably as good or better than some of the motion controls that these other VR systems have.
So kind of just adding my thoughts here. I think you're right, David, that if they're doing VR, the Switch's built-in screen would not be the display for that. Because it just doesn't have the pixel density that you need. Like, there are headsets for phones, but phones have a higher pixel density than the front of the Switch does.
Yep.
But what I think they might do, because this would allow them to do it without actually having a direct console hardware upgrade, is they have, I think it's 2 3.0 USB ports in the dock.
They actually have 4.
They have 4?
I haven't counted them recently.
They have 4 USB ports. I'm not sure if all of them are 3.0.
Actually,
but there are 2 on the inside and there are 2 on the outside of the dock.
Let me check. Okay, dock here. There's 1 on the inside and 2.0 on the outside. So 3 total. One of those is 3.0.
That's what I thought.
Okay, so yeah.
But so if they had some sort of an accessory, actually, based, going back to the previous question, they could do a VR headset accessory with like a 6 or 7 foot cord that plugs into the dock. So then the Switch is plugged into power, has its, it can clock up its hardware, do the higher resolution stuff that it normally does for the TV, and display to this headset that you'd buy separately. Then the Joy-Con are already really, really good sensors, like James was talking about, for doing any sort of VR thing. You'd have them in your hands. So then it's just one extra accessory that would be the headset. So if they were going to do VR, I think that might be where they would go.
That's a good point. I mean, if they don't do a hardware, change, upgrade, so that it can handle the VR, then I think that's a good solution as well.
Especially since the Switch is a lot bigger than some of the VR headsets that are going. It's about the size of the entire enclosure of a VR headset. It would be really obnoxious to try to fit that into something that's going in front of your eyes.
And I do want to mention, Nintendo has tried this whole look into a device to play a video game thing with the Virtual Boy, the console that we're named after that was a failure.
The VR road before, and that
and it did not work out well.
I think Reggie mentioned that in that quote I was talking about. He's like, we been there, done that.
But then, come to think of it, when they announced the Switch, they gave this big long spiel about how it had, historical elements from all the other Nintendo consoles.
Yeah.
And they included the Virtual Boy in that. So I think they're probably planning on trying something.
Yeah,
whether
I
that's
think
an actual
that's safe to say.
Full release of consumer hardware or not, I don't know.
Personally, I don't think it will happen this year, and I'm kind of iffy on if it will happen the year after. And maybe by that time, the whole VR craze could die down, or maybe it will just be as strong. Not sure, but I give it 3 years.
Another thing to think about, Nintendo has always said that their thing is trying to make
2 years.
Interesting gaming experiences with current hardware. They've never said that they're trying to be the company that's pushing the boundaries of hardware. They're always trying to push sort of the ingenuity in how you use current hardware. VR is getting to the point where, PC games have VR like every other one now, or so it seems to be. Microsoft's going into VR, Sony's been going into VR. It's getting to the point where hardware is readily available, So if Nintendo was going to jump back into VR anytime soon, I think now would be a good time.
I see what you said.
We're just going to have to wait and see. I mean, that's kind of the answer we've been giving all night is, well, let's wait and see what Nintendo does at E3 or whatever. So, I don't know. I think that Nintendo will pursue some sort of virtual reality experience. Whether or not that makes it out to the public, for the public to know that they've been doing it for realsies, is up to them. So we'll have to see.
I don't think they'll show it at E3 this year.
I don't think
maybe
so
next
either.
year, I guess. But I think this year is focused on Virtual Console, online functionality, and their big holiday games, and maybe some games coming in 2018. Maybe they'll have a curveball with Super NES, Retro Classic, whatever. As far as VR goes, I don't think so. But don't get me wrong, Scorpio will be the talk of E3, for good or for worse or bad, depending on how people accept it. People will be talking about it and its VR capabilities, so Nintendo will be looking at that for sure.
Well, I think that that's a fair place to end our discussion on VR. Thanks, Chris, for sending in this question, and thanks again to Todd and Daniel for your questions as well. That's it for this episode of the Virtual Boys podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes, and we'd also like to remind you to check out our website at nintensity.com, where you can find news, show notes, and more. The show notes for this episode are at nintend.city/EP54. There's plenty more in the episode description, so we'll end it here. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye!
Goodbye, you good people!